These two next posts are really just describing about how the Lord is working in each one of us. What is this move that we're in? What is this thing that we're in? Anyway, I thought I'd just give you a quick peep of what a lovely day it is. Click that round. Andy Harrington was deeply stirred, change of life stirred, by Anthony Robbins. He then made a study of how success works. It's that inner and outer story of implementing stuff in steps. Then Andy turned his attention to taking any person through a step program. Excuse this. It's terrible. CPAPs. Through a step program to get their own niche knowledge and experience into a format that could likewise be of benefit to a large number of people and thereby earn big money in presentation profits. So there was some equivocation about whether I was the fit for his program. I was asked my goal, which I stated. My goal is stated quite clearly on my timeline. Of course, he didn't know that, but I'll put it on my timeline here, which readers here will have seen clearly displayed for about 12 years or more. Since that has been put up, I have seen that the how-to is connected to two more sections of knowledge. Galatians 2:20 is closely connected to the meaning of the gates of Jerusalem in Nehemiah and the unique aspects of the Feast of Tabernacles as described in Leviticus 23. Missing from this agenda, though, perhaps I should have put this somewhere, is the answer that God gave us to this question. Olive Dover and I asked each other in 1973. And you can read about that. Have a look at the blog that is listed here. Or just do a search for Demi Loon. See that? Demi Loon. Anyway, the answer is the first thing attended to by the returnees from exile. Praise. Heavenly protocols. Equivalent to Book of Ezra rebuilding the very temple itself. That largely is what we've been involved with in the last decades. I left that out because it's everywhere. That's what the new churches have been re-establishing in the last 50 years move. It's one thing to gather physically in a building, isn't it? People have done that for decades and centuries. That's not the point. The point is, do you go anywhere in the spirit when you're together? Do you gather before the throne live? And do you make a connection with the living God? That's the point. So, kingdom is, one, closely connected to praise. We want to see some praise coming here? Some praise happening? Well, as the Lord's Prayer begins, Our Father, who is now in heaven, hallowed, hallowed, make your name holy is your name, Lord. Hallowed be your name. Your will be done. Sorry, it's your kingdom first, isn't it? Your kingdom come. Your will be done on on earth as it is now being done in heaven. That's what we're doing. That's just what we're engaging with. Just to remind everybody, we say these things by rote, don't we? But that's what we're saying. That's what we're doing. So next, the kingdom, or the reign of God, is closely connected to our belief upon Galatians 2:20, overturning Genesis 3. Bottom line, that's what we're doing. Bottom line. Kingdom manifests in a cyclic series of the gates of Jerusalem in the Spirit, actually much like the Jewish feasts are annual and cyclic. Gate number 9 is the main open door gate. It's the come into the building and see what's been going on gate. That is the revival, the sovereign revival of God over a geography is closely associated in the Spirit with the people of God going round in a cycle around the equivalent of the gates of Jerusalem, what they mean in the heavenly places, right? Kingdom manifests as booths in the Spirit. Jesus calls them wineskins, new wine in new frameworks that have the unique aspect of a simultaneous self-build. So they're really very remarkable, aren't they? That's the remarkable feel that everyone feels, as well as just the fact that God's been mentioned everywhere. But that's the surprising nature of it, isn't it? Simultaneously, spontaneously, from the heart, with a first love for Jesus, this move takes place of great lavishing, generosity of heart. Not just money, but just generosity on all levels. And that's what marks it out, isn't it? And that's what Ephesians 4 describes as the self-building church. All 4 woods, which is relevant from Leviticus 23 and the Feast of Tabernacles, the booths, all 4 wood types are operating together. That's what's remarkable. This, there is framework. It's not pyramid, but there is a roof with holes. In terms of wider presentation, so I stated to Andy Harrington's organiser, I wanted to share the more defined concept of the 4 faces or 4 living beings, which salesmen know as the 4 types of people we sell to. Okay? There's a concept of team building, but the great drawback of secular team building is Genesis 3. The Genesis 3 lie of the middleman is a fantasy. Now, you either go New Age, Buddhist or Hindu, or you avoid it altogether as an entrepreneur does. He doesn't think about it. But that's what he's doing with his educated guesses, his hunches. It's drawing down into his spirit man. It's on another level. It's not just a basic human level. That's what the entrepreneur is doing. But they just do it and they don't talk about it. And they try and pretend they're secular and everything's all just secular. Liars, really. Or we accept the gospel of Jesus Christ is correct and we have to lose the seat or throne of entropy altogether at the cross. That's what's going on in Genesis 3. And except Jesus took it out, raised us together with him, and we now operate as priests of a totally new order. So the drawback Andy Harrington could see was presumably, how do you sell this material? My drawback has always been, we don't sell kingdom. It's a free gift. So that was a problem right there. But one of my points is the elevation of the 4th quartile, St. John type personality. The business world exclude the John quartile because John and pyramids are mutually exclusive. That's not entirely true, because some of the great thinkers in business, some of the great entrepreneurial visionaries are, of course, John types. But in the run-of-the-mill, no, they do. They get excluded. Profit so far has revolved around creating personal pyramid shapes. This is the drawback for John-type people. We're born from our mother's womb living tabernacles. Perhaps all are when they are socialized. Being socialized in this fixed rigour is impossible for John types. The Andy Harrington experience came to an abrupt halt over a John type episode. That's what I thought was so ironic. So on the one hand, he's saying, I don't see how this material, it was fed back through the team anyway, the guy interviewing, I don't see how this material is relevant But that's the reason it's not relevant. They're doing it. They're actually doing it in front of me. So that evening, Andy used to send encouraging emails to all new signees to the Presentation Profits program. That morning, he'd sent a message about the importance of saying the truth, even though it's not going to be accepted, even though, it's not going to be popular. We have an obligation to say the truth. Well, yes, you imagine what that did. That evening in the lead-up training, where we were all on a Zoom call helping us to understand the shape of a presentation, the leader told a story about how sometimes others cannot see what's around the corner and we have to tell the truth. So I think that was partly responding to the email of that morning. Here the illustration was a wild animal lurking that we could see but another person couldn't. The evening continued, and then one of the last things, somebody was sharing his laudable goal of being involved with sustainable technologies that would not leave a detrimental path in the earth. And I piped up that I could see a wild animal. And the wild animal is that people can come up with laudable projects, but if it doesn't fit with the world agenda, at least as things are, it won't go anywhere. And I used Dr. Lathwaite's 60s linear induction motor maglev train as an example. So the only place you could sell it was Japan. And it's only recently been adopted in China, some 50 years later. Under the earth, it's used all the time, by the way. This had a depressing effect on the gathering, and I was asked to leave the course. This is at the heart of all team building currently. The John Quartiles state how things are, but it isn't the same. It's important when we say things that people realise that doesn't mean we've got to be stuck there. Our job is naming the process. Our job is stating it, however unpopular. So it means highlighting things so we change. The problem with addressing the world pyramid is everybody perches on it. So it has the same discouraging feeling as asking a person to saw the very branch he's sitting on. And sorry, I didn't read that right, did I? Anyway, and I do get that. I understand that. I understand that that's not going to be popular. However, the facts still remain. This seems to be the facts. Trump is of the deepest, darkest black sun order. We never knew that, did we? That David Shurter, 2010, 2011, I think, was physically present. He released a YouTube video in 2011 of an 80s incident where he was physically present as he saw children hacked up and eaten in Hummel Park by Fred Trump and Mike Pompeo and a couple of others. I didn't recognise their names. They're people known in Congress. That the world is run at the top by State Street, Vanguard and BlackRock, each with mutual shares in each other, so effectively one behemoth together, right? So not only have we got Trump as our present reality, whatever that means, because we don't know his involvement, except that he was raised in this Black Sun order. He's never talked about it. Never been said. And the second thing is that, the world is also run at the top by 3 corporations with mutual shares, so there may as well just be one corporation. They're made presumably as 3, so as we don't get scared. And BlackRock, Larry Fink's child breeding hub, or one of them, is at Ripon, Wisconsin. And Heather Blessington has vowed to get help to these incarcerated children before being farmed out for sex or hacked for hospital body organs or simply killed and eaten for adrenochrome. Are you getting this? This is what we're in. This is the world pyramid we're supporting. This is the world pyramid 50voices.org is exposing. But on a more positive note, let's look at the final thing. What's God really doing? Did I miss out another post? No, that's definitely it. Now, this is the other thing I wanted to share. I wanted to share this broad spectrum of things. The final thing is Melchizedek order. It's Melchizedek. The final thing is light, or God, and all our pure hearts, made pure through him, being able to see him. The sinner shall not stand in the congregation of the righteous, and that is the horizontal bond of glory and holiness that even exists now in worship, but God is exporting out of Book of Ezra into all of life, Book of Nehemiah. He said, set up waymarks in the desert for multitudes to walk upon, in the Isaiah passage. Yeah, so that's not an idle sentence. The sinner shall not stand in the new covenant means something corrective, like, silly thing, why are you still trying to make the Genesis 3 law work? Now Galatians 2:20 is fully up and running? Do you understand that? That's the life-empowering grace context of something that formerly just meant judgment all the time. The over and above grace through Jesus Christ is the bigger and better version of, through one man, Adam, death reigned. Well, this, through one man, grace reigns. But more than we ever thought. That's the point. So it's Jesus installing himself inside you, so you are repulsed by all Genesis 3 stuff, even outwardly good stuff that isn't, as I described. We look at the Fortune 500, think it's wonderful. But that's the reality. I've just told you the reality. Because the final thing is Melchizedek. There's no one person in charge. Well, there is, Jesus, but no human on earth. Catholicism will fail because it's not Melchizedek. Bill Gates' quantum AI system is meant to be the replica in-body system that runs head-to-head with the body of Christ, or Son of Man, in the earth under one head that we can't see. Remember, before Luther, there was no real concept of being born again or regenerated through faith justification. Churches started then to fill with born-again souls. Well, that must have been a difference, eh? Well, I know it. I've seen it. 12 years of my life, I've been in a Methodist church. I think there's only 2 people born again. I'm not sure. I don't know. But it was very different being in a born-again church. Before 1900s, apart from converted black slaves, people thought baptism in the Spirit had ceased. Things that couldn't happen before suddenly started coming right out of the pages of the Bible. This happened 60 years on as well in our era in the 60s and 70s in the charismatic move. With Galatians 2:20, the waiting on God that led to Jesus moving in meetings. So we're actively expecting, believing for Jesus to move and do stuff, and he did. Because of baptism in the Holy Spirit. We know it's real now because we have tasted of the glory of God. So we just carried that into meetings, didn't we? Well, with Galatians 2:20, the waiting on God that led to Jesus moving in meetings becomes lifestyle. What? You pray all day, Chris? That's not what waiting means. That's not what waiting means. The Hebrew for waiting is entwining or joining with. If you isolate the Jews bobbing before the wailing wall, or the singing of repetitive choruses, what you're doing inside your spirit man is exporting that new birth knowing into the rest of your soul in intentional or engaging with God actively type purpose of mind, will and emotions. That's what's actually going on if you cut it away, isn't it? The entwining work is grounding ourselves in Colossians 3:3 and Galatians 2:20. But then you cut out the music, you cut out the Jewish bobbing, you have trained your senses to continue doing the work all day long within you. Other people consider you odd because you're not responding maybe in usual manners, but even that, with habituation to moving from your insides, becomes normal to you. That's why Jesus' brothers didn't recognize Jesus. He was so good at Proverbs 3:6, acknowledge him in all your ways, that it looked natural. And as late as John 7, they just thought he was like any other Jew, his own brothers. Living in God is just living in source, capital S. It's like living in the home position that you were created for. So at one level, it's not recognizable. At another level, it's a flow. Ezekiel 47, the Watergate, Isaiah 55, John 4, Revelation 22:1. It's not just the fountain gate. The water issue is about finding the flow for you personally. And there's a Matthew, Mark, Luke, John 4-phase flow, which you are, so you're going to be some blend of that. But there's also a flow about how your life works. And how you work, and that's a mystery, and only you can unlock it. Or perhaps other people who see you in the spirit and describe and exhort you in it. Most of us only see each other as trees walking, unless God is opening our eyes. We really just treat each other like trees walking. As what can you supply me with? This gets worse after we're perceived as anointed. No, we are never our anointing. That's our unprofitable servant role, where we just do what we're told to do. No, who we are is Jesus come to live in us as us and nobody else. So only we can find this one out.